Thanks for downloading a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online. Now stay tuned for your 3CR podcast.
Sabah al-Khair, good morning dear listeners. You're listening to Radio 3CR on 855 AM and Palestine Remembered with Dr Ahmad Rimawi and Nasser Mashni. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Australia's only radio program that is totally dedicated to the Palestinian cause in English language. We would like to welcome our listeners on the AM dial and those who will join us later on 3cr.org.au/podcasts. In today's episode, we will be talking with Dr. Ahmad Jamil Azem, a Palestinian academic, commentator, author, and analyst. For this and more, stay with us and enjoy the episode. Good morning, Nasser.
Good morning, Yusuf. How you doing?
Today we have a very important interview with an expert on international relations. But I believe before that there is a bit of news you want to share.
Just some breaking news, because often we don't get to break news here. But on Monday, amazingly, the United States opened their first permanent military base in Israel. Now it's going to be in the Negev, and it's only got 24 soldiers. But high-ranking U.S. officers attended the dedication ceremony. Where they played the United States national anthem and the Israeli national anthem, but
as if the whole state is not a base for America.
One big military garrison for the United States, yeah. So
well,
they've officially got a base there now, as if Israel wasn't.
There is now an American flag. Okay, so I don't want to say congratulations, but so this is another dagger in the area, and like we said, the whole state of Israel is acting like another. Or maybe the other way around. If we put it from foreign policy perspective, the American foreign policy since the inception of Israel has been serving the interests of Israel more than the interests of the United States.
Well, it's been look, and that power comes from AIPAC and the lobby, and as we've discussed previously, there's no question that Arab foreign policy is dictated from Jerusalem through to from Tel Aviv through to AIPAC through to Washington.
And we've seen an important report in 2006 by experts from Harvard University and Chicago University elaborating on that. So we'll talk about that.
We should show on Mearsheimer and Walter one.
Certainly. I think it's worth revisiting every now and then. But now we're head towards our interview with Dr. Ahmad Jamil Azem, a Palestinian academic from Birzeit University and a commentator in Arab media on Palestine and Israel. Stay with us. Dr. Ahmad, thanks for being with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Doctor, if we start the discussion of Israel and its international relations with the scene from the speeches at the United Nations, how did you read that in light of the United Nations speeches recently?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I didn't yet have a comprehensive idea about what really happened in UN, because things are still ongoing. But it's very important and very dangerous to hear Mr. Trump yesterday, the American president. He delivered the speech for more than 41 minutes, almost 42 minutes, without mentioning anything about Palestine or the Arab-Israeli conflict. He mentioned Israel twice while speaking about Iran and how Iran and Hezbollah are dangerous and danger for Israel and other countries, but he didn't mention peace process. He didn't mention anything about Palestine. And also, it's very important that most of what he said, that anything will depend on states, on sovereignty, on power. He didn't mention international law. He didn't mention any international peaceful methods of solving the problems. And this is, I think, should give us a very important sign that we are heading toward difficult times.
So, Dr. Ahmad, as we know, Netanyahu, on his way to New York, passed through South America, and one of the realities, of Israel is it's continually and perpetually seeking legitimacy in the world. And in South America, 13 of 33 countries that supported the UN partition plan were South American, but that collapsed from the 40s through to today. But now he's back on the diplomatic offensive.
Yeah, I think Netanyahu and the Israeli government in general are working on several tracks internationally. First of all, they are trying to develop relations with Africa and Latin America, and there is one important reason. First reason for this is in order to try to weaken the support Palestinians can get in any international body. They think that we should stop the Palestinians from working within the United Nations or any other such organizations. The second reason, Israel is planning to be a member of the Security Council, United Nations Security Council, for the term 2019-2020. So I think this is also part of the campaign Netanyahu and the government are trying in Africa and Latin America. More important that the Israelis managed to get and to develop their relations with very important countries like India and China. And so now they are looking for other circles in order to develop their relations there, to stop the Palestinians from developing their policy or diplomacy toward BDS, boycott, and other economic measurements or tools in order to face the Israeli occupation policies.
Dr. Ahmad, you mentioned in your answer Netanyahu's endeavors to build or rebuild Israel relations, including India. And I want to elaborate a little bit. If you could elaborate a little bit on India, especially in light of the Prime Minister Modi, who is a representative of a nationalist party, the BJP in India. And if we could see any correlation between Islamophobia within the rise of Islamophobia and the rise of the right in India, and how Israel exploited that in its relations with India.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Indian leader Modi has been the first, I think, Prime Minister who visits Indian Prime Minister who visits Israel.
He visited Israel and didn't visit Ramallah.
Exactly, and it's important to remember that the Indian-Israeli relations were almost very minor 25 years ago. Only after Oslo Accord, after the Palestinian-Israeli peace accords in 1993, 1994, the Indian-Israeli relations started to develop. And the growth of the trade between the two countries in 25 years were 2,000%. We last year, in 2016, we have a commercial relation between the two countries that up to $4.16 billion, so for more than $4 billion. And this is not to include the military deal, which this year alone, 2017, up to this moment, we have deals with $2 billion between India and Israel. So we have a huge growth in the relation between India and Israel. In terms of your question regarding using terrorism and Islamophobia, it is not only with India. Netanyahu, in his recent visit to Argentina last week, he just headed from the airport to places, the two places that have been seen terrorist attacks in Argentina in 25 years ago. He tried a lot to speak about Hezbollah and to speak about the Iranian danger and about Islamists and terrorism. So it is core part of the Israeli discourse now and the Israeli message to the world. And I think he will do the same in the United Nations. He did the same in the United Nations. And Trump more or less did the same thing.
Dr. Ahmad, you mentioned in your article about the Israeli-Indian relations, which was, I think, published in several newspapers in the Arab world, an important and a subtle point, which is how Israel is trying to use the Palestinian IT expertise in 67 areas and 48 areas so that they can market their services to the Arab world, and how we from the Palestinian side should encounter that. So could you please tell us more about this?
Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu all the time talks about what he called economical peace. He's speaking about how you don't need to have a Palestinian state or to have to end the occupation, and that economy can solve the problem through offering Palestinians better jobs and more jobs, actually, not better, more jobs and opportunities. And usually the Israelis, when they think about the Palestinians in terms of economical relations, they think about two things. The first one is how to build Israeli manufacturers and other things inside the land occupied in 1967. So we have a cheap labor. The other trend now is to try to use Palestinian Arab IT specialists in order to develop websites and other services through the internet using Arabic language in order to go and to market their services around the Arab world and around the Arabic-speaking countries. So I think Israel is thinking how we can contain Palestinians through offering some jobs, but it should be something connected and to help the Israeli economy. It's not no facilitation. They will not facilitate anything that do not really help the Israeli economy. And in this way, the Palestinians should be all the time dependent on the Israeli economy, and they cannot be independent in any way.
يا ستي بكيت الحي وما كانوا يحنوا لشوي يا ستي بكيت الحي وما كانوا يحنوا لشوي قولي لهم وينهم حمود قولي ليش ثيابك سود قولي لهم وينهم حمود قولي ليش ثيابك.
You're listening to Palestine Remembered on 855 AM and an interview with Dr. Ahmad Jamil Azem, a Palestinian academic and commentator. Stay with us.
Dr. Ahmad, you spoke just briefly about Africa, and one of the challenges that we face, or Israel faces, is the fact that of 54 countries in Africa, for a long time those countries voted en masse for Palestine in the UN. And Israel is seeking to, obviously get their seat at the UN Security Council, but also to weaken Palestinian, votes. One of the there was a move, as you know, in October, coming in the month ahead, for a landmark summit between Israel and Africa. Now this was called off, but it almost got up and went away. So, can we have some comments on that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, Israel has all the time an old-known strategy of trying to have better relations with what they call circles around the Arab world. So in the 1970s, Iran was one of the best allies of, and Turkey were among the allies of Israel against the other Arab countries. Relations with Iran now is not good. Relations with Turkey is not as, but maybe Israel wanted better relations or better strategies with Turkey. They have some problems from time to time. Nevertheless, the economy and the trade is going well between both of them. So they are moving to now. Israel is moving now, trying to find new friends in Africa, like in Southern Sudan, and other countries. And Africa is part of them. As you mentioned, the African countries usually to be by default supporting Palestinian cause and Palestinian rights. Now they are trying. Israel is trying to find a new strategy. Most of the African countries stopped their relations, terminated their relations with the Israelis or with Israel after the war of 1967 and after the establishment of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO. And for almost 50 years now, there were no relations between Israel and maybe the majority of the African countries. I am not sure about the number, but now Israel is trying to do the opposite. They are trying to re-establish the relations with the African countries. They are going to poor countries who have also some problems inside it, like Togo. Togo, it's a dictatorship there. There is a dictatorship there. There are a lot of unrest in the country, and they delivering a lot of promises. The Palestinian diplomacy, the foreign ministry, and other bodies inside the Palestinian official side, and even on popular level, also some Palestinians moved to Africa, trying to contain and stop such policies, such plans. Israel has a very bad record in terms of racism against Africans inside Israel, either African refugees or even African Jews. African Jews inside Israel all the time are protesting the discrimination against them.
Yeah. So we've spoken about that on the show before, Dr. Ahmad, but the reality inside Israel, if you're an African Jew, at least you're not Palestinian, so you might be third class, but you're not fifth class citizen. And you spoke about Togo, and the reality is in December last year, Israel hosted a dozen African countries: Nigeria, Togo, Liberia, Guinea, Cape Verde, Gambia, Sierra Leone, as well as from Benin, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, to the point where Guinea and Senegal, both Muslim-majority countries, have now upgraded their relations with Israel. I want to speak about, the ongoing support for, genocide that Israel perpetuates. And we had the crazy situation where Rwandan President Kagame spoke at AIPAC in Washington. This is after the Israelis, funded with weapons the Hutus as they killed over 1 million Tutsis in Rwanda. And today they're still sending arms to Myanmar and the Burmese military junta. Any comments to that?
You are absolutely right. And actually also we can add that Netanyahu attended in last June the economical summit of Western Africa, and this is the same. It's the first time that an Israeli official, or maybe any official, foreign official from outside Africa attend such summits between the countries in West Africa. And it's important. Israel also record of relations. It's always with some, as you mentioned, dictators with racist regimes like the former apartheid regime in South Africa and other countries. And the speech or the discourse we hear in the United Nations, again, going back to the United Nations this year, and the Trump speech, it also concentrates on interest, on state interest, without giving any attention to international law, to legal issues, to justice, and this is it's important. Now Israel is trying to say to the world, your interests are with us. We can help you sometimes through direct Israeli assistance and projects. Netanyahu tried to convince several African countries to commission the Israelis or to contract the Israelis for building their IT infrastructure and other educational and services in their countries, so Israel can be an essential part of the economy there. And sometimes they try to send the message that we can mediate with the United States of America. We can be your door or your gate to reach the Americans.
Dr. Ahmad, you mentioned about how Israel tried to encircle the Arab countries through establishing relations with the countries around. And now we're heading towards an important referendum in the Kurdish part of Iraq, Kurdistan. And of course, I'm sure you may have read comments or articles from the Arab media expressing concerns about how the future, if we can say, Kurdish state is not shying away from having very warm and strategic relations with Israel on one hand, and also where the new state might be another pro-Israeli entity in the region. How do you comment on this?
Israel is working in a very active way to start to use or to benefit from what is happening in North Iraq and Kurdistan. They just invited guests from the Kurdish part of Iraq. And if you read the Israeli newspapers and if you follow what the Israeli politicians are saying, all of them are trying to say that we as Jews and you as Kurdish party have a common problems with the rest of the Arab regimes and other countries. And this is the same thing can happen all the time. Israel is working to circle the Arab countries by having very strategic relations with regimes and countries around the Arab world, and they try sometimes to penetrate the Arab world through some minorities and through some playing on the ground of ethnic and sectarian aspects. We hear the Israeli all the time even speaking about what they call the moderate Sunni regimes or moderate Sunni countries. So Israel is using the ethnic and sectarian tools. They trying to benefit from in any way to divide the Arab and the region in order to say that the major conflicts, the major problems, and this is, by the way, what Netanyahu said yesterday, exactly. Yesterday when he was speaking to the United Nations, he said that the major problem is not Israel or the settlements or occupation. He said the same thing in Latin America. In his speeches in Mexico City, for the Jewish community there, he said literally, settlements and Israel are not the problem in the Middle East. There are other problems. So you are going to the Kurdish problem, to the Shia Sunni problem, to other problems.
I guess, like one of the commentators said, the only two-state solution Israel believes in is two states in Sudan, 2 states in Iraq, and 2 states in other Arab countries. And I guess we're heading towards the end of the interview, but I would like if you could comment on the Israeli-Chinese relations in light of the last March's visit by Netanyahu to Beijing, and how that could also fit in the bigger picture of Israeli breakthroughs in regions where they historically have been part of the pro-Palestine campaigns.
Yeah, there is similarity between India and China on one side, and the relation between India and Israel on one side, and the relation between China and Israel. Also, the growth in the relation and the development started after Oslo Accord. Last year, the Chinese investment inside Israel was the first, the biggest. It is bigger than the American investment inside Israel. We are speaking about maybe more than $10 billion Chinese investment inside Israel. Actually, we are speaking about $16 billion Chinese investment inside Israel. And Israel is trying all the time to develop the relation with China, especially the commercial trade relations. And actually, the United States of America, maybe it is the only file or the only area where they intervene to prevent Israel from working freely there, because the United States actually, in way or another, is trying to stop the Israelis from develop their relations with China, especially or mainly when it's coming to the military relations and selling military technology to China.
Dr. Ahmad Jamil Azem from Ramallah, thank you very much for sharing this enlightening answers, although painful facts on the ground. And we're looking forward to talking to you in future episodes. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
With this, we've come to the end of this week's episode of Palestine Remembered. We spoke with Dr. Ahmad Jamil Azem from Palestine. Dr. Azem is a Palestinian academic, writer, commentator, and analyst. Thanks for tuning in to another edition, and remember, next week, same time in the 9:30 in the morning. Until we meet next time, this is Nasser, Robert, and Yusuf wishing you the best of time, and salam.